Trump campaign calls out stone-cold loser Kamala for continuing to stoke the flames of violence in her brief remarks to reporters. So this, of course, is following Kamala Harris's making this ridiculous statement about Trump wanting, generals like Hitler, which has been refuted by people named and on the record, and only supported by unnamed nobodies no one's ever heard of. We don't know who they're talking about. Quote, Kamala Harris is a stone-cold loser who is increasingly desperate because she is flailing and her campaign is in shambles. That is why she continues to peddle outright lies and falsehoods that are easily disproven. The fact is that Kamala's dangerous rhetoric is directly to blame for the multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, and she continues to stoke the flames of violence all in the name of politics. She is despicable, and her grotesque behavior proves she is wholly unfit for office. Well, how's about this one? Pennsylvania McDonald's franchise retains security after Trump's visit leads to threats. What a ridiculous case, man. The owner of a Pennsylvania McDonald's that made news over the weekend after Trump went there has retained private security following threats made at the location. Jim Worthington, a key organizer of Trump's visit to the Pennsylvania delegation, blah, 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 told the Daily Caller, the McDonald's has received threatening phone calls and social media messages after the former president's appearance. In response, Giacomo Antonio, who had already hired private security ahead of the event, retained their services to protect his employees. Jessica Miho, a Bucks County resident, described the heightened security when she visited the McDonald's. We walked in, it seemed fine. We ordered and we sat down, but then we looked to our left and there were several armed guards just sitting there. One of the guards stepped outside and I saw him walking around our car. I thought he was checking if we have our insurance or something. Then my husband and I are like, these guys are security. These guys are really watching and seeing what's going on. It was then I made the connection to Trump. Despite the threats, Worthington emphasized that the community has overwhelmingly supported the restaurant. The community is really embracing it, and a lot of people have come here since Sunday just to patronize the restaurant. Now, I don't think it's solely just Kamala Harris that is causing things like this to happen. But certainly when she goes and gives a press conference, she's actually doing a town hall later tonight, which we don't care to watch because it's probably going to be painful, empty words where she uses lots of them to say nothing. But it is true that as Democrats go on TV over and over again and prime a nation wound up as tight as can be, eventually that spring snaps back into the other direction, that energy gets released. And now you've got a McDonald's having to have private security because of death threats. There's a ton of crazy videos, right? We got this video that went viral. A woman goes to someone's house for no reason and asks her why she's voting for Trump and then yells at her, flicks her off. Lady, why did you come to this? Could you imagine you're at home and someone knocks on your door and for no reason, I just don't like you because you voted for Trump and now I'm going to scream in your face. These people are unhinged. And if some random old woman is willing to cross that line of going to a stranger's house to insult them, imagine what someone who's truly crazy is willing to do as they ramp up this rhetoric. So I agree with Donald Trump.
Castle Doctrine. I'm just joking.
Well, I mean, if someone breaks into your house and is threatening your life, we hope it doesn't get to that point.
Yeah.
But that's what I fear if the rhetoric keeps escalating in this regard. Kamala Harris and Democrats saying Trump is going to be Hitler. They're claiming he's going to use the military against the American public. He's never said that. That's insane. Look, man, it's projection. Mm-hmm. They say that Republicans are doing this thing and they're going to do that when Democrats are the ones who have a tendency for street level violence. Republicans don't do this. They try and cite January 6th over and over again, despite the fact that it's Democrats that in 2017 ransacked D.C. because Trump got elected. Then you have Democrats in May of 2020 setting fire to St. John's Church and firebombing the White House. And you have consistently with, say, the Summer of Love protests, it is leftists and Democrats. It's not Democrat leadership. It's run-of-the-mill regular folks who vote Democrat who are joining these protests and engaging in extreme degrees of violence.
It's sort of like that phenomenon of like people that have been abused do the abuse to other people. You'd think someone that receives abuse would be like, understand how horrible it is, worse than anyone else, and be the most likely not to do it again. But it's the weird cycle of like, look, it happened to me, so I'm going to project it onto others. And with people supporting movements that are perpetuating violence, like the pretty brutal burning down of cities and stuff during these riots, and just kind of like being kind of okay with it, you'll see the projection of that outside. It's like they're forcing that kind of abusive behavior now outside after they allowed it to happen, and the cognitive dissonance of like making themselves think it's normal because they don't want to seem like they were a victim or part of a problem. That's, I think, a lot of what's going on.
My concern is, well, I will start by saying Republicans, what is it, 1 out of 10 instances, is there someone on the right doing something? It's just been consistently over the past decade, as far as I've seen, longer than a decade since. Go back to Occupy. What did Tea Party do? You ever see Tea Parties running around firebombing buildings and beating people up?
Calm.
Yeah, I remember going to
peaceful movement.
I went to Philly, and there was a Tea Party event, and it was a bunch of people sitting in lawn chairs. Then you go to these leftist protests, and they're smashing up windows, throwing things in the street, fighting with cops. That's just what they do.
Tea Party events, they like cleaned up after themselves. There were all these times that the Tea Party had protests or whatever, and they would always like take their trash out with them. And the place was, I mean, it wasn't perfect, because not everyone's on board, but like it was significantly cleaner than when the left has a protest where they break, like, not only is it a mess, but they like smash windows and light cars on fire and stuff.
The Tea Party guys didn't loot the Gucci stores?
No, they didn't.
Surprising, right?
Shocking.
Yeah, there were little old ladies with little American flags and red shirts and American, flag hats, and they're waving them in a lawn in Philadelphia. And I was like, well, this is boring. Yeah, it was funny because I've covered all these protests, and I was like, man, this is crazy. The cops are firing rubber bullets, and there's tear gas. And then I went to a Tea Party event, and I walked around, and nothing happened, and they're just sitting in lawn chairs, and then they left. And then after they left, they cleaned up their garbage and picked up the chairs, and I was just looking around like, but nothing happened. Like, I guess the challenge for people on the right especially is there's no news when you do that. And so the left actually wins politically in terrifying cases where, for instance, when at Trump's inauguration, when they ransacked D.C., they all got arrested and then sued the city, sued the federal government, and won $1 million. They had to pay them, the people doing the looting and the ransacking. That's fascinating.
Insane.
What did they sue them for?
I don't know the exact thing, but I think it was like false charges. The idea was this large group of people, many just black-clad hoodies, were smashing things, setting fires. The cops surrounded a big group of them and then just arrested everybody. And then when they tried charging them, the defense argued, how do you know my client is the one who committed those crimes? And they say, we don't, but they were part of a conspiracy to do it. They argued that if you show up at one of these rallies wearing black bloc, which is a hoodie, a mask, jeans, you are doing that to intentionally cover for other people who are going to be engaged in extreme violence. And then they argued to the judge, so some random guy who happens to be walking down the street wearing a hoodie and jeans is now part of a criminal conspiracy? You can't do that. So a handful of people actually pleaded guilty. And then once things started getting pretty hot, like more news, more attention, more protests over the arrests, and more lawyers got involved, everyone started pleading not guilty. And then eventually they were forced to drop the charges. And then they filed a lawsuit against the city and they won $1 million.
Like a class action?
I don't think it was a class action. I'm not sure. But they argued that it was like wrongful arrest without evidence. And it's D.C. They're all Democrats. They're going to side with leftist protests no matter what. They're sitting there being like, these people are protesting Donald Trump. Come on. Like, you want to win an election and you arrest the Trump protesters? Yeah, you're not going to be able to pull that off. Again, this is why I say civil war. Not because I've made it the idea, because if a Democrat goes out, look at the lockdowns. When they went out and marched in New York City for Black Lives Matter, they said, it was a Colorado Sun, ran an article, the Black Lives Matter protests reduced the spread of COVID. It's amazing. How about that? And then when people went out for free speech on the right, they had pictures of nurses standing in front of cars with their arms crossed being like, you're spreading disease. It's all just patently obvious to everybody. And I wonder if why the reason Donald Trump is doing so well is because people are just sick of this.
I know I am. I think so. I mean, when we read earlier that, Donald Trump said that he wished he had generals that like what Hitler had, I was like, you know what? Even if he said that in a meeting 5 years ago, I don't care, dude. I don't care anymore. He said it off the cuff. He doesn't really want to do that kind of thing. Like, no, I'm done with that crap. I am, and I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a zealot. I just don't care about that crap. Like this whole villainizing bullshit. I'm done.
I agree. Even if Donald Trump's sitting there and he's like, I wish I had generals like Hitler, I'd be like, yeah, literally don't care anymore. I am so sick of the media running these lies. I am so sick of the far left violence. We had in the 2020 cycle, something like a list of 1,000 attacks on Trump supporters. You had a Trump supporter, I believe it was in Portland, Aaron Danielson, got shot twice in the chest by some far leftist with a Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck.
And the Venezuelan gangs taking over hotels, like there are real problems happening in the world that it's not about this guy or her. It's like there are real issues with mass immigration, unfettered people coming into the country and taking over territory, like drug cartels on the southern border running fentanyl across the border and poisoning our country, like real problems that we should be focusing on as a nation. So When it comes
Well,
to like liberal and conservative, I think conservative people, the reason why a lot of it is just sort of peaceful and bland is because they want to conserve the status quo. That's the nature of conservatism. They're not really out there to change things. They want to.
What is Kamala's pitch?
I don't know.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's bad.
Yep, that's
it's
it.
the same crappy fear-based thing about villain, villain, villain. Look at me. I'm not.
What's Trump's pitch?
He wants to take away interest on certain loans. What student
Car loans?
Car loans. He wants to make it so you don't have to pay. interest on
Deregulate
those.
energy industry.
Yeah, he's actually putting forth ideas. He's been president for 4 years. He knows how the system works. He knows how policy gets passed and created, and he's actually got ideas. A lot of people like Tulsi Gabbard now has joined the Republican Party because she's fantastic. Just a fantastic nonpartisan human being that sees the humanitarianism in the Republican Party right now. It's not about politics. It's about like real people trying to do real change.
Even Ian is voting for Trump.
Really?
Well, Tim does a lot of my talking for me. I don't know. Yeah, I probably will. Yeah, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris, and I do not support imperial people putting candidates into power without a primary. That is completely anti-democratic. It threatens democracy.
That's exactly like the King of England.
It is like a monarch putting their son in power, or being like, who will you choose for your next leader? This guy or this guy? I picked them both.
Indeed, and that's why you have to support Trump. It's the only way to oppose the British crown.
Trump at least was chosen by the people. That's one thing I appreciate about his movement is he was chosen by people that believe in him, and not some business bureaucracy that put him into power.
And it's not just that; it's that the primary was pretty brutal. You know, Nikki Haley was bringing Democrats over to the Republicans because they were trying to get her to be the candidate. Ron DeSantis mustered up a legitimate base in the Republican Party.
Vivek Ramaswamy was the best candidate, but the people love Donald Trump so much and they respect him that it's like, okay, that's the guy. That's your guy right now. That's Donald Trump.
He won against three pretty strong personalities.
Yeah, if he hadn't been in the election, it would have been a very intense, tight race between DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek.
Yeah. I don't think Nikki Haley could have won. I think DeSantis would have won if there was no Trump, because he was ahead in all the prediction markets too. But yeah, you look at the Democratic Party and they've appointed someone without any democratic process. I think for that reason alone, we must oppose Kamala Harris. She could come out with the greatest policies in the world, and I'd say, no, we cannot as a country allow the political appointment by party of our national leader.
I agree. If she had the best policies in the world, literally, I would consider it, unfortunately.
Nope. I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Why?
Because the dictator's going to come to you and he's going to say, Ian, you want graphene and hydrogen energy? I will give you all of those things. And you go, oh, that's a good point. Then he's going to get in and he's going to point his son, and his son's going to be like, cancel Ian's graphene.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. You gotta trust the process itself. You need to respect the process itself. That's what this is about. Is respecting the democratic process.
Kamala will come up behind you and put her hands on your shoulder, give you a massage, and whisper in your ear, graphene. And you're going to be like, I'm going to vote for her. And then as soon as you do, she's going to throw you in the
the empire will offer you everything on a platter.
But you'll never get it.
Maybe you'll have it for a generation, and then it'll be taken away from you because the next emperor wants it.
You offer them absolute power through appointment. They have no obligation to give you anything they promised.
Yeah, we need to respect democratic republicanism.
See, the thing is, if we reject that Kamala Harris was appointed, and we say you have to win at the bare minimum your primaries, then what we're saying is, if you are running for office, you better be accountable to the people because they will vote you out. If Kamala Harris wins, the Democrats are stating to this country they can choose by political appointment who the nominee will be, and you will vote for it, and you will be happy. And that means Kamala can have no policies at all, or any policy she wants. That means the next person that comes after her is going to stand up and say, I'm going to declare 17 wars. I'm going to strip all of your pension funds. And there's nothing you can do about it because we choose who is running. You're going to get Jack Johnson and John Jackson. It's going to be like Futurama. I think his tax policy goes too far. Well, I think his tax policy doesn't go too far enough. And you're going to be like, wow, this is awful. But you know what? Here's the reality. That's how it was for a long time. Like, did anybody really want Obama or Romney? It's fascinating to me. At a time when you have the zeitgeist, literally at the time, Zeitgeist, the documentary, you have the community, the culture of political people who are involved in politics saying, yeah, we want Ron Paul. We want Congress to declare wars. We want sound currency. And then you had the average person being like, don't know, don't care. The machine on TV, they told me to vote for Barack Obama, so I did.
And if you alter the time scale and kind of step back for a long time, you didn't even get to do a fake choice. It was his son is going to be your next ruler. Deal. You have no say. For thousands of years, that's how the system worked. His kid's going to be your next leader, and then his kid, and worship my family. And we are very fortunate to have this American Revolution in 1776 led by these amazing human beings that put and risked so much for us to be able to choose our leaders in cycles. That has to continue.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.